All righty, here we go. Welcome everybody to what is self-love Masterclass, a free class that Cuyla and I are putting on. Before we get rocking and rolling into it, I just want to acknowledge. Hi, Mila. Awesome. Glad. Thank you for chiming in there, or Mia. I just want to talk about Cuyla for a second. Okay. And that I met Cuyla a few months ago, and she reminded me so much of myself at a time where she was looking for something, and she didn't know what she was looking for, but she knew she was looking for something, and she had enough of a truth detector to just kind of go with something is how I would say it. And I just really appreciated our first contact and interaction. And I just knew there was something really, really special. I was really drawn to her. And I'd shared with her kind of some of the work that I've been doing and how it's made a really big difference in my life. And she was courageous enough to come and learn and hear a little bit about what I'm up to. And from my perspective, it looks like it's made a really big difference for her. And she's just launched into a really beautiful direction with her life. And in many respects, she's a poster child for living self-love, really. And she's just really putting herself out there. And I wasn't joking when I was telling Lauren any day with Cuyla would be epic in my mind, because she's so full of love and passion and caring, and I couldn't ask a more wonderful person to co-host this event with. So I just wanted to thank you. And when we started to talk about the topic for a webinar to kind of both support her in growing her community and for launching a project that we're working on together, she came up with the topic of what is love. And I think it's because she has a really good ear to the ground for what her community is interested in. You know, like she's really got a pulse on what people are interested in. So when she presented the topic of self-love, I had a bit of a reaction in the beginning, because I wasn't really that in favor of it. And I said, well, I'll make a deal with you, Cuyla. We can do that topic, but I might come at it a little bit different. And as she and I talked this morning, I said, it may be the way I see things might not be as popular as people may like to hear, because it's different. It's different. My take is often different and unpopular. And what I mean by unpopular is that popular is kind of how the group thinks, or a group consensus. And so for the last 30 years, I've been very engaged in just about everything that's unpopular. And you could say truth and wisdom and unconditional love are very unpopular in the larger scheme of things, okay? So anyhow, after we originally talked about the topic, it really started to take a life of its own within me. And I really started to get excited to share and be with everybody and talk about what in the world is self-love, and help to at least share my perspective and my point of view, and help people unpack some confusion around two very big concepts. And one is self and the other is love. So that's just kind of a little bit of backstory before we get into today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Cuyla, and let you say a few words, either backstory or what your intention is and what your thoughts are today. So I'm going to turn it over to you and hear your thoughts.
Well, first of all, thank you, Greg. Your words were so sweet. I appreciate you. And I really am like a poster child, because I did his 3-day what's almost 6 months ago, and it was life-changing for me, and it completely inspired me to launch a coaching career, which I've been doing for the last couple months and playing with. And and I wanted to do the topic of self-love because I'm seeing this as a prevalent topic that's coming up in conversation right now. And there's a lot of people that are posting about like these tips, right? These tips for self-love. And there's people with different approaches of how you do self-love. And so based on the principles that I've learned with Greg and been coaching, it's just a really fascinating topic to me that I wanted to kind of dive deeper and have a meaningful conversation with other people about, and share kind of our perspective of how we see self-love, which, like he's saying, might not be the popular way of seeing it, but I think it's a pretty fascinating way to look at it. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory for me, and I'm just super grateful to be here. So thank you, Mia, Cameron, Lauren. Grateful for all of you.
Awesome. So, one of the things, just because it's not popular doesn't mean it's not true. Okay. So that's kind of the caveat here. And if people can just kind of keep an open mind to the unpopular, you might actually see that it has quite a bit of merit and can really plays really well on the long game of life, so to speak. So I'm excited to be with you. Now, this is the first time Cuyla and I have done something together, and we were meeting a little bit earlier today, but I'm going to hand the baton back over to Cuyla because we have a question, and a big part of this class is to hear from you guys. And so I'm going to bring up a slide deck here, and then Cuyla, you're going to I'm going to kind of pass it over to her in just 1 second here. And here we go. All right. So, what is self-love? Before Cuyla starts teasing out our initial question with you, I just wanted to say that the purpose of this class is to explore the deeper truth about two typically unquestioned assumptions about life and about human beings, and that is, what is self and what is love? And when people don't know what something is, or they collapse it with something else, it limits the possibility of what's available for people, okay? So a collapsed distinction is, you could say, not knowing the difference between, let's say, a want and a need. That would be a collapsed distinction. And if you don't know the difference between a want and a need, everything seems like a need, okay? But no, something might be a want, something might be a need. The same thing is, if self is collapsed and we don't know what it is and it's undistinguishable, we're headed into some troubled waters from my point of view. And the same thing with love. Love is one of those very loaded words and loaded concepts. And so we want to unpack that a little bit. And you could say that if somebody's got a lot of gunk in love, then it's going to be very confusing on what that looks like when we're combining that with self-love. So that's really the purpose of this, is to kind of unpack that stuff. Okay? Is that anything you want to add to that, Cuyla?
No, I think you're spot on. I'm excited to just ask questions and get there.
Cool. Cool. All right. So take it away, Cuyla.
Awesome. So we wanted to have this be an engaging conversation with the audience and everybody that's on the call. So what we wanted to do is pose a question and have you share what this question means to you. And there's no right or wrong answer to the question. It's just really whatever's true for you and whatever is coming through for you in that moment. So again, there's no right or wrong answer to this at all. Like whatever is true for you to this question. So the question that we wanted to pose to everyone is, what does self-love mean to you? What does self-love mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we do a popcorn? Lauren, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So Cuyla and I actually have talked about this today, and a lot of our conversation that came up was about love and being loved, and so I think I see it actually differently than I probably did earlier today even. But for me, self-love, love means it's just, love to me is something that is innately within me, and it is something that I was born with. It is something that is always and consistently there, no matter if I'm aware of it or not, or I'm feeling if I'm feeling the lack of my self-worth or whatever, at the end of the day, it's always there within me. And then the self part, and this also came from Greg's last Tuesday or the Tuesday before, but learning about the personal, and for me, when I think of self now, it's all about your personal fears and insecurities and me. It's all about me. So and I don't want to just repeat what Cuyla said, but it did resonate with me. If we're loving ourselves, we're falling in, we're trying to accept the things that we think is wrong with ourselves, which those things are not even real to me. My insecurities and my fears are they're not my own. They're something that I learned over time. So yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Thank you, Lauren. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just one of the things that I'll add is that for all of us, we're all on this journey together. We're all on this journey together. And what you're seeing now, and Lauren, this is a perfect example. What you're seeing now will continue to evolve. The more work you do with Cuyla, the more you start to understand these principles yourself. I liken it to my son playing computer games, and that they're always looking to level up or tier up, and that is so true for love and consciousness and all of those. So one of the things, and maybe I might share some things here today, and why they might be unpopular is they might just seem so leveled up that you can't even comprehend them. All right, but it doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means it's a different point of view. All right. And it's one of the reasons why I study with my teachers, because they also have a higher view than I do. And it's almost like it gives me room to grow into. And that's what Cuyla and I are here to present, is to keep doing our own work, and our own work allows us to ground and to see more and more and more. And then we share that with people. We just share it. We're not saying it's true. We're not saying it's right. We're just saying, here's what it's looking like in this moment. And that's a really beautiful place to learn to live from, is that all of our understanding is going to shift and deepen from moment to moment to moment. And you could say the biggest mistake that any of us could make is to think that we've arrived. Okay? The truth of the matter is, I don't know much about self-love. Okay? But I'm really curious. Okay? And I'm continuing to learn. And it's from that openness and that willingness that I kind of level up. But see, as soon as we put a bow on something, says, oh, I got it. We're no longer learners. we've already kind of said it's a done game. It's a done bird, so to speak. Okay, so I just wanted to offer that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
So Mia or Cameron? Cameron, do you feel ready to share?
Yeah, I can do that.
Awesome.
I'm laughing a lot because pretty much everything you've said, Greg, has been something that I have said in a completely different way over the course of the past couple of weeks. So very much enjoyed that.
And we have the same barber too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great minds,
There's less interruptions there.
Yeah. We've got clear connection. The clear connection.
Wow, I love it.
Well, the last part where you said you don't really know necessarily what self-love is, I would say very much resonates with me. I would say in terms of actually knowing, I would not have a clear answer. It's something that I would think about a lot, come up with theories. Similar to what Lauren did, I'll kind of break it down into the two parts. The self being, to me, at least like this being that I can perceive as being here, both body and spirit, mind. Love being both a connection to others and kind of everything. And so self-love for me a lot of times ends up being a practice in understanding that what is going on now is enough, and what I already know, I already know what I need to know, and now it's about remembering it. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Cameron. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Mia.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Yay. Hi. Good to be here with you all and share this conversation with you. So first and for all, right now, what I'm feeling, my heart is pounding. I feel a little anxious, and accepting that what I'm feeling right now is self-love for me. And I totally relate to that. Like idea of that we are in this sacred journey to just remember who we truly are and come to home, which is love to me. And it's knowing ourselves as a divine beings. So for me, as a tantric practitioner, and that's my spiritual path in many ways, it's like looking at my shadow and bringing light to my shadow and accepting everything about me, accepting the shadow part of me as equal as accepting the light part of me, and bringing the wholeness and knowing that all of it is divine. It's all love, and we are connected through this love. So we are all love. That's how I see this. Self-love.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, and I can really feel your connection to that love and your really deep understanding of that. Now, would it be okay if I asked you a question?
Sure, of course.
Okay. Is there ever a time that you find that that's not the case for you? So is there, like, you know what I mean? Like you have a really good understanding of what self-love means, and to be inclusive of these shadows and all of that, the light and the dark. Now, what interferes with that in your mind? What gets in the way of that? Or are you living in that all the time?
Yes. So now we come to this fun part. What is the practice and the work to remember and looking all parts of myself consciously and working on those things that comes from conditioning, fears, limitation that we've been taught in our childhood or, society and many ways, saying that you're not accepted, you're not worthy, you're not loved. It's all that we are carrying still within us. And when I feel like I can feel it in my body when I'm not loving myself. You can feel it in your body. There is, so those moments are the doorways for me to look at myself and see what's going on with me and why I'm resisting loving myself.
Good. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, that's really beautiful, because that's the nature of the work that we're heading to. And I use the word work
Yes.
too freely, because it's actually easier than that, Mia.
Yes, it is.
There's actually nothing to do.
Yeah, in some way it's that there is nothing to do. There is no goal.
Yes.
And this is the profound understanding for me that every moment is perfect.
Yes.
So I am perfect.
Absolutely.
That's the way I am right now. So I don't even need to change myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, I love what you're saying. And for me, I knew that for about 25 years. The only thing is, knowing that wasn't very helpful to me. Okay. Until I came to this deeper understanding of what's underneath the human dimension. And it's once I got my hands on that, once I had an understanding of that I was freed up from all of what previously looked like a lot of work to do, like a lifetime's worth of work. So hopefully I'll make it a little bit more clear, but I love where you're coming from. I love what you're seeing. And if you kind of stay with the conversation, I hope that you'll see or be encouraged that all that's required to stay in our understanding, it's not memory. Okay? There's an understanding that we're all sitting on right now that's always available to us. And there's only one thing that's impeding that. Only one. There's only one thing going on that's keeping us from having that experience all the time. Okay? So if you can just stay open to that as a possibility, that would be awesome. I think you'll really enjoy this.
Thank you so much. I will.
Cool. Thank you.
Eric's on.
I'm going to unmute him because I muted him. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Eric.
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It.
What do you know about self-love, my friend?
Well, I think I know a lot, but I don't really practice as much as I should. Yeah, this one's always been a challenge for me until I really got into the principles, and it was just one of the biggest insights that I gained initially was just the awareness to allow my innate wisdom to shine. And what that looks like for me is just stop doing and just start being. Like, take a breath, take a pause, stop striving and trying to get somewhere, because everything I need is just right in front of me.
Yeah,
that's kind of what self-love means to me.
Yeah. Well, I can really relate to that, Eric. Like so much of my life, I thought love lived outside of myself, you know, and that there was something for me to do to be lovable, you know, like there was either I had to work on myself to be lovable, or there was some secret out there somewhere that if I could just get, then I'd crack the code. Or if I just worked hard enough at loving myself, then that would work. And I found a much simpler way with the principles. It was just getting out from underneath all of my misunderstandings, if you will, about how things work. And that has been extremely helpful and continues to be really helpful to me.
Yeah, another thing I found is I made this connection with my level of happiness, and that being my self-love. And so for me, it was like this idea of searching for happiness or striving for happiness or finding happiness. And like, it was just here all along. It wasn't something I had to go find.
That's right.
And so I turned it into like this, as you mentioned earlier, the kids on games these days are trying to level up. Like I was trying to level up in happiness, thinking that that was going to fill my self-love tank.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was out there. It's somewhere to go be. It's a destination or something that I had to go find.
Yeah, I can totally relate. I was in the same boat. Very cool. Well, thank you, Eric. It's always great to see you. And thanks for being on the call.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Cuyla, you want to add your 2 cents worth?
Sure. So for me, what I discovered during my 3-day with Greg was that I am love. And I realized that who I thought myself was this like persona that I had built up. And this self was full of fear and judgment and insecurities and doubts. And so when I see self-love, what I'm seeing is a lot of people are working on that self, that personal self. And what I've become more interested in is this like more impersonal self, my more authentic self, which is just full of love and peace and joy. And I'm less interested in entertaining the personal self. So that's what's been waking up for me.
That's right. That's right. That's great. Yeah. And I think one of the things you said earlier is a lot of the things that we see kind of on social media, or people are innocently kind of approaching self-love as what I call a prescription for life. Okay. So a prescription is if I do all these things, if I get up and I do my rituals and I do my meditations and I do my Qigong and I do my journaling or my walking or my quiet time or whatever it is, it's like, it's a very prescriptive way of living life as a means to an end to get to self-love. Okay. And so that's what we're discussing, is that's very innocent. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It is what I would call the very wide entryway to coming onto the path of self-love. But there's an easier way, you know, and it's not prescriptive, it's descriptive. Okay. And what I mean by that is when we understand what's underneath the human dimension, that understanding is enough to give birth to or to awaken self-love. Okay. That's how I would say it. Does that make sense to you, Cuyla?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sense. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. Well, shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see what's on the next slide. It's a mystery to me. Oh, what? So as I mentioned, when Cuyla and I originally talked about this, the self-love thing, for me, I have my background is in Zen and meditation. I've been on a spiritual path for about 30 years. And, you know, depending on which path you go down, there is some debate about is there even such thing as a self? Okay. And So, one of the things I thought I would talk about is there are two, quote unquote, two selves. It appears that there's two selves. And if we look at any tradition, any philosophy, any religion, they're kind of all pointing to the same thing, that we have a true self and a false self, okay? And you could call it an ego and a true nature, an id and an ego, whatever you want to call it. There seems to be a distinguishing characteristic of self, okay? So what is considered the false self? Well, in my mind, we're all currently sitting here listening and getting through life with some form of a false self, okay? It's a conceptual self. It's how I see myself, okay? So a false self, in my mind, is a conceptual self of an identity or a persona, a mask, an identity that I feel comfortable going through the world, where I'll either get liked or loved, or at least I won't get harmed or whatever. So our false self or egoic self is really born out of to survive and potentially thrive, but it actually comes with a great backlash, okay? So another way to look at the false self would be our personalities or our egos. So many people think our personalities or our egos are what we should be loving. Well, it's a part of it, but why would you love something that's not true? That's the question I want to kind of present, is why would you even want to love something that's not true? And so that's part of this whole conversation, is only love what's true. Okay? And so what is the true self? Well, as Mia said earlier, it's coming home to love. It's coming home to what we already are. It's coming home to our true nature. Okay? Now, what's challenging is the true self, our true nature, is more subtle. It doesn't live so rigidly in the world of form. And in the principles, you could say our true self is the fact that we are universal mind, consciousness, and thought. Okay? Now, universal mind, consciousness, and thought, you can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't touch it, but it doesn't mean that as human beings, you can't perceive it, you can't come to know it, we can realize it for ourselves. So the true self, in my mind, that which is worthy of loving, is invisible. You can't really see it, but you can look in that direction. And for me, I have a growing love for mind, consciousness, and thought, these inner energies underneath the human dimension. For me, I'm only speaking for me, is that's what I love. I have this great love for true self. And to me, that looks like, well, who I am is mind. Who I am is consciousness. Who I am is universal thought. Who I am is love. And so it matters that we look in that direction, that true nature within us, versus the false nature of the self is kind of my, if we're not careful, we'll love that which isn't true. We'll love an identity. We'll love a persona. We'll love our quirks. That's okay, but the deeper self-love comes from looking in a much deeper direction. I hope that makes sense. Okay. If something doesn't make sense, feel free and we can talk through it. The second big idea that I wanted to unpack is what is love? Okay. Well, I've spent whole weekends just exploring this with people. What is love? To keep things really simple, much like self, there's true self and false self. With love, I'm going to suggest that there's personal love and then there's impersonal love. Okay? Personal love tends to live in the domain of the horizontal, often called the weeds of life. Okay? So it would be loving that aspect of me that's personal. Okay? And what happens is a lot of people struggle in life when they're trying to navigate love in the personal domain. And the work that Cuyla and I do is we invite people to get on the elevator of impersonal consciousness, like to get out of the personal, taking life so personal, and move up this elevator. And as we move up the elevator of love, you could say, see, love has an infinite range. On its lowest range, it's a love of things. It's a love of the objective world, okay? But as we get on the elevator of consciousness and we move up the elevator with love, it starts to have a more impersonal quality to it. It's kind of like, think of the sun. The sun shines and radiates its light and its energy to everyone. That would be impersonal. It's not personal. It's free for the taking. Personal is contracted. It's a withhold. There's a lot of me, a lot of mine. It's my love. It's personal. It's like it's hoarding. It needs to be protected. Are you guys with me? Okay. The more impersonal I can be with my love, the freer I am as a human being. Okay. And most people have never considered this, and at best, they're trying to move through life, trying to have a nicer personal love. Okay, we're trying to figure it out because it's so confusing. When all that's really required is an elevation, a leveling up in one's understanding of what love actually is. Okay, so again, I know I may not be making sense, that's okay, but if you can just kind of feel the spirit of what I'm pointing to, I'm pointing in a direction, okay? And I'm pointing in a direction that allows people to have a nicer life and not get tripped up by what I would call the personal dimension, okay? I wanted to share a distinction what I call self-love and self-care. I think most people, or many people, when they talk about self-love, what they're really referring to is self-care. And self-care would be what I call an outside-in strategy for honoring my body and my mind. Anything that lives in the world of form would be self-care. So it's like I would say it's like changing the oil in your car and waxing your car and having it detailed and all that stuff. So self-care is dedicated to the world of form, okay? Now, the deeper our understanding around universal mind, consciousness, and thought, what people often overlook is thought actually lives in the world of form, okay? So for many people, they're actually doing self-care, not self-love, because they're trying to love their thoughts, okay? So when you try to love your thoughts or be kinder and more accepting to your thoughts, you're still doing self-care in my book, okay? This is just how it looks to me, all right? And so what's on offer here is self-love, okay? Self-love, there's nothing required, okay? It's who we are. It's simply looking in the direction of our deeper truth, our true self, and an impersonal love. And the more we look in that direction, the more access we have to it. That's all that's required for self-love, is looking in the right direction. And so the direction is not looking at the false self and not looking at personal love, but to look towards universal or impersonal love, okay? And the more I do that, you could say, the more radiant I become in the love that's available to me and to offer the world. And so there's nothing required with self-love. So that's why self-love is never prescriptive. It's only based on understanding the nature of it. Okay, so it's about understanding the nature of it. And it's often, self-care is often confused with self-love in my mind. They're both fine, they're both good, but self-care is, like I said, taking care of the world of form. Self-love is honoring and looking in the direction of the formless, okay, our deeper and truer nature. So for me, in anticipating our time together, I came up with a couple things that occurred to me. Self-love is simply the realizing who you are underneath all your insecure thoughts you believe yourself to be. That's it. So self-love is realizing who you are is love underneath all of your insecure thoughts and beliefs of who you are. So, you know, Mia had mentioned earlier about all of this, you know, stuff that can kind of come in and cloud or interfere what she experiences within her body as love. And so all that's happening for all human beings is that the only thing that interferes with us being the love that we are is that clouds of insecure thoughts have come in, and we're now believing them, entertaining them, fearful of them, superstitious of them. But that's all that's going on. And if we simply understood the nature of thought, and the nature of thought is transitory, that it would move, there's nothing to do, that alone would return us back to love. It's that simple. It's that simple. Self-love for me is the absence of troublesome thoughts. Okay? So think about it for a second. If you got a lot of troublesome thoughts, you're not going to experience much love. But the absence of troublesome thoughts is what's there not to love? Because that's who and what we are, is love. So self-love is simply the absence of troublesome thoughts. Okay? Now again, I'm not saying this is true. This is just how I'm seeing it right now. This is my current understanding. This is what it looks like to me right now. Okay? Or when I made this slide. Self-love is unconditional and always on offer. Okay, so it's always available to us. And if we can just refrain from getting involved with the clouds of thoughts that roll in and realize that the sun's always shining. It's always shining. Okay? And that it's always on offer. And if we can just be patient and not be fearful of the clouds that are temporarily interfering with the view of the sun or my experience of self-love, if we just understand that's part of the human experience, that we have thoughts that come in, we have moods that come in, and they come and they pass, and we don't need to do anything. Okay? And if we can just remember that the sun is always there, the love is always there, and sometimes we forget, sometimes we can't see it, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So self-love is unconditional, and it's always on offer. Self-love is independent of doing. You don't have to do anything. It's not prescriptive. You don't have to earn it. It's not about being worthy in my mind. So this is just how I'm seeing it, okay? If you guys see it different, again, I'm not saying anything I'm saying is the truth. I'm only sharing what's coming from my own experience, okay? I didn't go read somebody's book and come up with the things. I looked within myself. I looked within my own wisdom. And this is what was offered up within my own intelligence, and said, this is what it looks like to me in this moment Self-love is independent of doing. There's nothing to do. Self-love is pre-existing. It's our birthright. We come out of the box with self-love. That's what we are. Look at children. Children are a really beautiful example of this. So it's pre-existing. We've just acquired a lot of insecure thoughts since our childhood. And that's all that's happening is we're buried under beliefs, innocent misunderstandings, and we're just in the habit of entertaining them, okay? And we don't need to. And the more we learn to ignore, practice conscious ignorance, ignoring thought. That's what good meditation practice is realizing that there's thought coming through the system. And it's not to get involved with the content of what's coming through my mind. It's bearing witness, and it's moving into a state of awareness. It's becoming aware of awareness. And as I become aware of awareness and aware of consciousness, I go, holy shit, there's a lot of thought going on the system, okay? And as I wake up to that, I realize, oh my God, once I get a little distance, I realize I've been dragged under the bus of my thinking. And that's where people suffer. That's where people struggle. That's when people start to see the merit of the principles, they get out from underneath the bus and they have a whole new life, a life of freedom, a life of love, a life of peace of mind. And it's a really beautiful thing. But self-love is pre-existing and it's our birthright. Self-care, as I mentioned, it focuses on strengthening. It's prescriptive. It focuses on strengthening yourself from the outside in order to improve balance, wellness, and quality of life, okay? But self-love, like I said, it's pre-existing, and the more we look in the direction of mind, consciousness, and thought, our well-being naturally rises via understanding and insight, okay? There's nothing to do. Self-care, there's a lot to do, okay? Well, Cuyla and I are going to be offering a 3-day coaching immersion to help people get out from underneath the tremendous amount of thought that we're all swimming in, okay? So one of the things that this understanding points to is that all human beings are living in a world of thought, like fish are swimming in water. And fish swimming in water, they can't see the fact that they're swimming in water. And human beings can't see the fact that they're swimming in extraneous thought, contaminated thought, and a lot of misunderstandings. And as they wake up to that, like a fish, if it was possible for a fish to wake up to being in water, a whole new world of possibility opens up to them. But I don't want to get ahead of myself here with the commercial, but I'd love to open it up for dialogue and to hear what you guys heard and hear what's making sense, and open it up for a question and answer to either Cuyla or myself. So Cuyla, you want to maybe field the Q&A or see if anybody's got any questions?
Yes. So I'm curious, what were your thoughts on Greg's explanation of self-care? Does anybody have any thoughts they want to share on Greg's understanding of self-care? Was there anything that resonated for you on that?
Yeah, I think it made a lot of sense to me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. And I used to be in that rat race of waking up, trying to have a practice, go to yoga, go work out, meditate, rinse and repeat. And it was always like this never-ending marathon to try and get to some peace of mind. I didn't really realize at the time that the peace of mind is in the not doing. So it's like this almost cosmic joke that was played on me. So yeah, it makes perfect sense to me.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Eric.
Love that. Thanks, Eric. I know, Lauren, we didn't talk much about self-care today, but I was curious if any of that resonated with you.
Yeah. Let me think. It is interesting. Like, I think the part that Greg, you had said, like just the changing the thought, like it's always, or not changing any thought, but it's like just an awareness of like where my thoughts are when it comes to like if I'm feeling love for myself or not. And I think sometimes I'll like go to my journal and like write down all the things that I did or like I've done throughout the day in order to like feel that I like deserve love for that day. You know, it's like a check mark thing. And today has just been like, it's been transformative to think about it in a different way. I think that for me, there's like almost like a pushback right now of like, how do I kind of steer away from doing those types of things? Because those things do make me feel good sometimes to be able to like see clearly, okay, like this is what I've done for the day. But I don't want that to be my only like measurement of love. Like,
Right. Well, one of the things as we wake up to this understanding, it can be a little disorienting sometimes, Lauren, and it's like, are you saying don't do self-care? Well, I'm saying don't do it as a means to an end for self-love. Okay. Like you can still do it, particularly if it makes sense to you. Okay. So when our minds settle down, what happens is we're actually guided via inspiration versus divine intervention or guidance. Okay. And so we start to listen to that. And when that starts to show up, like go take a nap, Greg, or go for a walk, or, nourish your body or whatever it is, like that's not a strategy. That's not that's coming from me in that moment, versus self-care is like a to-do list to manage my life and control it and try to, manage my best self, so to speak. That's kind of the old way of thinking. But when I start to kind of get on to self-love and I realize that there's not a lot of doing required, things slow down and I have a nicer life. And I either decide I'm going to go for a run or I'm not going to go for a run, but I don't have anything on it. Or I'm going to have the chocolate cake or I'm not going to have the chocolate cake. Some people, the disclosure here is when people start to wake up, and particularly people who are very driven, self-love driven, and they've got the list of self-love. I mean, those people, when they kind of wake up to this, self-love looks like eating a lot of chocolate cake and they could put on 20 pounds. Because they're really enjoying life for once, okay? They've been so damn hard on themselves, and they've had this prescription for living that's not life. And so when people get out from underneath that, they go, I don't know what it is, but I just feel so happy. I'm so content. I don't feel the need to be in a relationship. I'm not so hard on myself with my diet. It's just like, it's a nice life. That's love. Okay. But many of us, particularly, very ambitious people, they think more is better, and prescription is better and the right hack is better and having the right rituals is better. My mentors, it really took me a while to get accustomed to this new way of living life, because, you know, it made sense to me, but I just didn't trust it very much. and it's like, oh, if I'm living in a state of mind of love, that plays really well in life. When I'm not in love, I got to work really hard to get a lot of shit done. But when I'm in a higher state and I'm loving everything I'm doing, I'm loving doing a workshop or a webinar with you all. I just love it. It comes out. Opportunities show up. It's just, everything's fun. It's easy. It's effortless. This is so effortless being with you guys. It's just because you love everything that you do. That's and the more we fall in love with everything, the easier and the better life is. Okay. So this is just the beginning, the scratching the tip of the iceberg in my mind. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Cuyla, we're a little over the hour. I'll turn it over to you for any closing comments or anything you'd like to say before we wrap up, just so we can honor people's time commitments.
Yeah, well, I just want to say thank you all for hopping on here and being open to having this conversation about self-love and self-care. And again, this is kind of what Greg and I have been waking up to. We just wanted to share what's been coming through for us and what's been true for us. And yeah, if you want to stay in touch, I think we're all friends on social. Obviously I am with Eric and Lauren. Cameron, I don't know if we're connected on social already, but we should be, if not, because I see you at Daybreaker all the time. But yeah, I just want to say thank you all.
Only if he wants to. Only if he wants to. Don't put him on the spot.
The invitation is there.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm grateful that you guys hopped on here.
Now, would you guys be interested in the recording? Do you want the recording of the call, or does it matter? You guys would want it? Okay. Yeah.
I probably don't need it.
You don't need it? Okay. Okay, cool.
Eric and Lauren, you want it? Is that
Yes,
what you said?
please.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you guys for being with us here. And I'm sure Cuyla and I will be doing other things, but really enjoyed being with you guys here. And it's such a pleasure to share what's touched me. This understanding has really touched me. I know it's touched Cuyla and Eric. So anyways, thank you all for being on the call. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you can find me. Okay. Take care, guys.
Greg, thank you all.
Good one.
Thank you.